Wherever you go these days, from Korea to Colombia to India to Cairo, you will encounter a colony of Western expats. People who have, for whatever reason, opted to spend extended periods of time, sometimes decades, away from the mother country, away from their home country, to live among people that will probably, to these expatriates, ever remain foreigners, still remain somewhat alien to them. They will live in these countries, but they're definitely not of these countries. I've often thought that would be kind of an interesting way for me to live. It suits me. I love the feeling of being a foreigner. One of the things that one notices among the expat community is there's always a certain number of them. I won't say all of them. I'd say most expats are pretty decent people, but there's always a certain number of them who you can tell have taken a pretty dim view of the country they've opted to live in, particularly the people they have opted to live among. You often get the expat who has almost got racist attitudes about the host country that he's opted to live among. Never got anything good to say about the society that he's lived in, that he's opted to live in. He's got very little good things to say about the government, and one is forced to wonder why he's there. It's an interesting dilemma because, as I say, you meet expats everywhere, and this is a common theme. Probably there are a few expats out there that will understand the type of person I'm referring to. The person who doesn't like the host country. Now, to me, that's kind of offensive. If you want to live in the Philippines, you've got to understand that you're living in the Philippines. You've got to show respect for the local culture. You've got to, at least like the place because you're there by choice. One would assume that you're there because you want to be there, that there's something about this country that draws you there. And to the point where I sometimes feel embarrassed by the behavior of other white people whenever I travel. As I say, there's a certain number of ugly American types out there, and they are by no means all Americans. Plenty of ugly American is actually just sort of a cliche for in my world at least, for the blanket obnoxious tourist or expat in particular. It's a phenomenon that I've observed everywhere that I've gone. Now, this kind of thing is kind of the mirror image of what we see with the angry Islamists that I've referred to, that I've seen in Western Europe. Obviously, they've come to the West to make their home there. There's something about the West that has drawn them to that country, to that place. They have made a life for themselves there. They've done well in that country, and yet they seem to have nothing good to say about their new homeland, their new adopted homeland. In fact, there are plenty of, or I shouldn't say plenty, but there are enough of these sorts of people to get noticed. And enough of them who actually say, not only don't I like where I'm living, it's not just a question of normal human homesickness and cultural disorientation, which we all feel. It's an actual out-and-out dislike and ill will towards your adopted country. I wonder if these two types, the firebrand Islamist in central London and the racist expat railing against the laziness of the locals in the Bangkok tea house. I wonder if these are pretty much the same types of people, because I wouldn't be at all surprised if Amjad Chaudhry or any number of other firebrand Islamists in the West who either are from the Middle East or the Islamic world, or have come from the Islamic community inside the West. if they're not embarrassed by these kinds of people, and they hope that, or they constantly tell themselves, oh, I hope that everyone doesn't think we're not all like that idiot, I'm just some guy trying to get through my life, and I'm bloody glad that I have the opportunity to live in the south of France, and I just want to get through the day. To the sort of unassuming tourist who just wants to go and have a nice vacation, find out about exotic places, and hopes that not everyone thinks that the people in his country don't think that we're all like that couple of louts who were caught snogging drunkenly on the beach in Dubai last year. That kind of behavior sends it sort of a shiver down the spine of anyone who spends a lot of time in foreign countries. When you're in someone else's country, you should behave yourself. You should take into consideration local customs, local sensibilities. You don't have to go overboard about it, because you're going to be cut a certain amount of slack. But you have to understand certain things that are deeply offensive, even if people aren't going to do anything about it. It's still offensive, and it's the same thing, I suppose, with immigrants or firebrand Islamists in particular, who have not only have they sort of opted to retain their Islamic identity in the same way as an expat almost never assimilates into the local culture. He inevitably stays a Westerner, and a lot of, almost exclusively, his circle of friends are Westerners. The Islamist or the Muslim immigrant might opt to live as a Muslim. He might opt to dress as a Muslim. He might opt to run his entire life as a Muslim. But he's just some guy who wants to get through the day. He is what he is only because this way of living rests very lightly on his shoulders, and it just seems to be, in his life, the point of least resistance. It's difficult for him to assimilate, so he doesn't. Maybe he's a little bit easier with his children, maybe they can assimilate, and of course there are exceptions to this too, but in the same way the children of expats usually don't assimilate either. So, as I say, we've got the loudmouth, drunken, obnoxious, offensive tourist, or expat in particular. I'm particularly harsh on what I see as obnoxious expats, aren't I? And you've also got the obnoxious, in-your-face, angry, disenfranchised immigrant. I think that they're two sides of the same coin, and I do believe that this kind of tendency in human conduct is the common obstacle to good cross-cultural understanding, and trying to make sense of this massive, sudden cross-fertilization of every culture on Earth. Let's still bear in mind that the other guy has his own point of view, and there's no harm in him staying the way he is, as long as he's not in your face about it. Thank you.